Hey everybody, welcome back to AP Language. Mr. Land here, and I am fairly certain that you were able to actually open this video and watch it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be hearing me say this. But I am so sorry for all of the upset and all of the strangeness. I don't know what's going on. It just seemed like, Monday, suddenly everything stopped working on Teams as far as my links, everything. I know that a lot of my videos on stream just disappeared. I think I told you that. Anyway, enough about that. We're back on YouTube. We're going to stay here for a little while until I can figure out what's going on. So I hope you're doing okay. And I want to bring you up to speed on where we're going. A lot of you are concerned that we might be writing another essay, and the answer is yes. That's exactly what we're going to do, though you are not going to write it yet. In fact, we may not even write this one, we may just plan it, because the planning is everything, and please remember that. And please remember to make yourself visible. Make sure that you're interacting, make sure that you're answering my survey so that I don't mark you absent. I'm not going to dwell on it. You guys know the story, you know the song. I'm sure a lot of your teachers are singing the same song to you each day. So now I have been looking at your GSD charts, and I've gone through most of them by now. I think fifth period, I'm still getting through yours. Many of you have done them, and it seems to me that it's really helping, that you're starting to realize that rhetorical analysis isn't just a matter of, well, how many comma splices can I find? Or does the author use a lot of ethos? No, not necessarily. You don't use ethos. No. It's all about strategy. And remember, I hope that you had a chance to watch my football video where Mr. Lin was talking to you about football, which I barely even know anything about. But the idea, remember, that to win a game, it takes strategy. And an analogy that I used there that I'll just briefly summarize was that say Northeast was playing the Green Devils in a football game, and we wanted to win, and coach knew that the Green Devils had a very strong running game. So of course the goal, in this case, the goal of the game would be to score more than the other team, but the strategy would be a matter of shutting down the running game, right? Everything would come down to how can we force them to pass the ball instead of give them an opportunity to run the ball. And if you notice, that's a kind of a broad statement. It's not saying what we will actually do to stop them, but it is saying everything that we do will have the effect of forcing them into a situation where they need to pass instead of fall back on their ability to run. And then down here, the devices are, okay, so what plays then are going to make it so that the Green Devils are going to be forced to pass the ball instead of run. And that's where we get specific. Well, and I listed off a bunch of football plays. I don't even remember what they're, I think one of them was the blitz, right? Where everybody rushes the center. See? So that would force the center to do something unless, of course, he can break through and unless, of course, they have very good blocking. But do you see how the important thing about the GSD chart is it shows the relationship, it shows the relationship between the devices, that the devices need to relate in some way to the overall strategy, and the strategy needs to be accomplishing the goal. So the more that you go up and down this chart, that you look at what the goal is and what the strategy is and what the devices are, the more those are harmonizing, the stronger your argument will be. Now, in this case, we're not talking about football, we're talking about rhetorical analysis, we're talking about the author's purpose. We've done a lot of stuff with the Google text, exploring what the author was doing, how the author did it, the say-do chart, all of that. The goal is going to be, well, what is the author's purpose for writing? Now, a lot of people wrote down the central idea, and they did a fine job of that, but that's not the author's purpose. That is the central idea. Think about, what is the author trying to do? Is he informing us of something, persuading us of something? Is he entertaining us? I would choose one of those to zero in on. And then when it comes to the strategy, remember, this is a general method of attack. What seems to be the author's main way of achieving this goal? How is the author presenting himself? How is Nicholas Carr presenting himself? What sort of data does he use? Did he use a lot of scientific data? Did he use measurements and numbers and graphs and charts? No, he didn't. Why didn't he do that? What does that have to do with the rhetorical situation? What does it have to do with his audience? What does it have to do with the context in which this is being written? Remember, this was 2008. A lot of the internet was newer than it has been in the past, of course. So what does that have to do with it? How does that enter into it? Who is his audience, did he say? Who is he reaching out to? Why is he reaching out to them? And then when it comes time to talk about the strategic methods, the actual rhetorical devices, some folks are just citing things that they have found one or two of. I want you to zero in as we move forward, zero in on the ones that seem to be used most often. If you find a comma splice, well, good for you. But is that necessarily the most prominent, or is it the most powerful one that he is using? What I have seen is a lot of people have a pretty good idea of the goal. It's the strategy portion that is giving people trouble. And remember, the strategy equates to shutting down the opposing team's running game. Remember, that is at least a more specific explanation of how the team is going to win the game. All right, and it isn't, and the goal is, of course, to win the game. So it may take a little while, but it is so important to have the strategy in place as you're planning this essay, because all of your rhetorical devices have to support the strategy. So today, I have given you a couple of things, and I'm about to show you how to use them. The first thing I'm giving you, and you may think it's kind of weird, but I'm actually going to give you a prompt that is based on the Google text, but it is a excerpt from the Google text, and it is the essay prompt. And why I'm doing this is that I want you to have as close a representation of the actual sort of question you're going to be asked. Remember, you're going to be asked to read 500 to 800 words. I think I've given you about 1,000, but I know you've read most of this, or all of this. You better have read this already, so I don't feel bad giving you maybe more text than you're used to. And then I give you the prompt, and I'm going to show it to you in just a minute. And the other thing that I've given you is a graphic organizer that is going to move you from the work you did on the GSD form onto planning your paragraphs and keeping in mind the idea of the relationships between the devices and the strategy and the goal. So here are the things that we're going to need for this. So this is my GSD form, and you can see I haven't actually filled in words because I am not going to actually do this one for you. But you should have something that looks like this, should have a statement of the goal. Now, some folks wrote more of a paragraph up here. This just needs to be a sentence, and you're going to see why. In fact, if you wrote a paragraph, you're going to want to pare it down to a sentence or even less. And again, you'll see why in a minute. Then some statement of the strategy, like why, what is it that the author is attempting to shut down? What is the author attempting to highlight? Who is the author? What does the author seem to know about his audience and about what would appeal to them? And then down here, you were supposed to find at least 3 specific devices that the author used. I'm going to say we're probably going to eliminate one of them and you're going to stick with just 2. So we're going to go from there. This is the prompt that I've given you. And it says, rhetorical analysis essay plan, is Google making us stupid? Again, this is what your prompt is going to look like. There's going to be a text, and you're going to see the prompt at the top. I'm sorry, the printer is running right now, which is why you can hear this thing. It says, read the following excerpt from Nicholas Carr's essay carefully, then write a well-developed essay in which you analyze the choices Carr makes to convey his message to the audience. Okay, This goes right back to the goal, strategies, and devices. Okay, goal. His goal is to convey his message, right? And what is his message? And notice I've given you a portion of the text, but not all of it. Be sure that if you are citing text evidence, and there's two sides to it, there's 2 pages, that you cite from what you were given here. Do not quote from, page 5 if it's not on here. Limit yourself to what I have actually given you, because again, it will challenge you to make use of what you're given. Of course, you can mark this up, you can highlight things, you can do whatever you like. And in addition to the prompt, you have this essay plan. Rhetorical analysis essay plan is Google making us stupid. And it says up here, read the following excerpt from Nicholas Carr's essay carefully, then write a well-developed essay in which you analyze the choices Carr makes to convey his message to the audience. It's a restatement of the prompt. And here again, you can fill in your GSD, hopefully shortened. You can just write a shortened version of each of these. And then I want you to choose 2 rhetorical devices. Come on now, you can focus. There we go. That you see the author uses often, and I want to say intentionally. Now, you're not going to write devices the author uses often and intentionally. You're going to write what they are. Okay, I'm just doing this to kind of help you figure it out. Let me see if I can zoom in. Nope, I can't. All right. And then we go to building our thesis statement. And what happens is, whatever you wrote as the goal and the strategy are going to fill in these blanks. So in a way, you've already built your thesis. You just have to word it. In order to convey his message, and here you're going to say what the message is, Nicholas Carr, and what is the strategy that he employs. Okay, so up here again, the goal is what is his purpose, what is his message, what is he trying to say. You're going to combine that with the strategy and fill this in, and just make it easy on yourself. Just use this thing and fill it right in. And what you should have then is a guide for what is coming next. Notice, now we're going to move from the strategies to the devices, and there's space for 2 paragraphs that you're going to plan using the devices that you have found.